x to negative 3 is equal to 1 over x to the third. Negative exponent is a displaced base. Negative 5x to the negative 2 is negative 5 over 1 times 1 over x to the second. The answer, negative 5 over x to the second. X to the negative 5 is not where it's supposed to be, so we're going to bring it up, and the answer will be negative 2y times x to the fifth over 1, negative 2y x to the fifth. 3 is where it's supposed to be, negative 2 it's where it's supposed to be. X to the negative 4 is really 1 over x to the negative 4. Therefore, we bring it up, and it's going to be 3/2 x to the fourth. X to the negative 3 becomes 1 over x to the third, and y to the negative 5 becomes y to the fifth. So the answer is y to the fifth over x to the third. X to the second is where it's supposed to be. 4 is where it's supposed to be. Y to the negative 3 becomes y to the third. X to the fourth divided by x to the 10th is going to be 1 over x to the 10 minus 4, which is 1 over x to the 6. X to the third over x to the fifth for B times y to the 8th over y to the second. Now 5 is bigger than 3, so we're going to subtract 3 from 5. 1 over x to the 5 minus 3, which is 2, times 8 is bigger than 2, so we're going to subtract 2 from 8, y to the 6 over 1. Our final answer is y to the 6 over x to the second. For C, we're going to have 10 over 5 times x to the fifth over x to the 10 over x to the 10th. Now 10 over 5 is 2 times x to the fifth over x to the 10. It's x to the 10 minus 5, which is 5. Now when we multiply the 2, 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 times x to the fifth, x to the fifth. X to the negative 5 is not where it's supposed to be, so we will have to displace it. Now our answer will be 1 over x to the fifth times 1 over x to the 10th, and x to the fifth times x to the 10th will be x to the 15th. Final answer is 1 over x to the 15th. Negative 2 is where it's supposed to be, negative 2 over 1. Now x to the negative 3 over 1 and 1 over x to the 7. X to the negative 3 will have to be moved down. So it's negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2. And then we're going to have 1 over x cubed multiplied by 1 over x to the 7th. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. X cubed times x to the 7th is 3 plus 7, which is 10, x to the 10. When we divide a number by itself, we get 1. So 2 to the 5th over 2 to the 5th is 1. And 2 to the 5th over 2 to the 5th is 2 to the 5 minus 5, which is 2 to the 0. Therefore, 2 to the 0 is 1. if we want to explain everything, we could write a as 3 to the x to the fifth over x to the fifth, which is 3 times x to the 5 minus 5, which is 3 times x to the 0, which is 3 times 1, which is 3. The quickest way to do this is just to cancel x to the fifth over x to the fifth. 3 times x to the fifth over x to the fifth. X to the fifth over x to the fifth is 1, so the answer is 3. It helps to know that any numbers to the 0 power is 1. Therefore, b can be done in one shot. We just replace y to the 0 by 1. The final answer is 7x to the fifth, z to the fourth. 3/4 raised to the negative 2. We're going to distribute negative 2 to 3 and then distribute it to 4. So it's going to be 3 to the negative 2 divided by 4 to the negative 2. Knowing that with the negative we have to displace the base, so 3 to the negative 2 will become the denominator, 3 to the second. 4 to the negative 2 will become the numerator, 4 to the second. Rearrange it, it's 4 over 3 to positive 2 to the second. So we flip and we change the sign of the exponent. Our final answer will be 16 over 9. Raising a quotient to a negative exponent, ab to the negative n is equal to b over a to the n. Procedure: first, we need to flip the fraction. Second, we change the sign of the exponent. And then we simplify. For a in example 7, we're going to flip the fraction. So it's y to the 7th over x to the 3rd. Then we change the sign of the exponent. It's going to be positive 6. Now we're going to simplify. In this particular situation, we're going to distribute 6 over y to the 7. 6 over 7, that is 42. Y to the 42 and 6 over x to the 3rd, 6 times 3, 18. So y to the 42 and x to the 18. We're going to flip, so it's going to be 3y to the 5th divided by negative 2x to the 4th. Then change the sign, which becomes 2. Distribute 2 over 3, the exponent over 3. We get 3 squared, which is 9. 2 over y to the 5th, we get y to the 10th. Distribute the exponent 2 over negative 2 to the 1st. It'll become negative 2 to the 2nd, which is 4. Negative 2 times negative 2. And x to the 4th to the 2nd will become x to the 8th. Here's a quick summary of the exponent rules learned so far. You may want to check their meaning online if you forget. We need to write these answers without negative exponents. X cubed over x fourth will be 1 over x to the 4 minus 3. So it's just 1 over x. First, we'll detach the different factors. 5 over 10 x squared over x to the 5th, y to the 10th over y to the 3rd. 5 over 10 will be 1/2 times x to the 2nd over x to the 5th will be 1 over x to the 5 minus 3, x to the 3rd. Y to the 10th over y to the 3rd will be y to the 7th, 10 minus 3. Now we put them together. Y to the 7th over 2 times x cubed. For 3, negative 12 over negative 3, x to the 10th over x to the 2nd, y to the 7th over y to the 10th. A negative over a negative is a positive. 12 divided by 3, 4. X to the 10 minus 2, x to the 8th, divided by y to the 10 minus 7, y to the 3rd. Negative exponent is a displaced base, so we're going to displace x to the negative 5, and we'll keep x to the 2nd together. X to the negative 5 over 1 is equal to 1 over x to the 5th times 1 over x squared, and the final answer is x to the 7th. For 5, we're going to flip and change the sign. When we flip, we get y cubed over 4x to the 5th. We change the sign, we get 2. Distribute the exponent 2 over y to the 3rd. We get y to the 3 times 2, which is y to the 6. Distribute the exponent 2 over 4. We get 4 squared, which is 16. Distribute the exponent 2 over x to the 5th. We get x to the 5 times 2, which is x to the 10th. And we're done. Let's just detach the different factors. 3 over 9. 4 x to the 4th over x to the 4th. Times y to the 5th over y to the 2nd. And z to the 0, well, any number to the 0 is 1. Z to the 0 is 1. Now, we're going to reduce 3 divided by 3 and 9 divided by 3, 1/3. X to the 4th over x to the 4th is just 1. And then it's multiplied by y to the 5th over y to the 2nd is y to the 3rd. 1 times 1 times y to the 3rd is y to the 3rd. 3 times 1 is just 3. The answer is y to the 3rd over 3.